The transition is complete. The economy has moved from the physical world of assets to the internal world of neurochemistry. This is the dopamine serfdom. Finance is no longer about the extraction of labor. It is about the rental of your will. You do not own your happiness. You rent it from a platform through a series of microtransactions. This is the systemic drift toward a state where your very capacity to desire is a subscription service controlled by the digital predator. The basal ganglia, the ancient core of your survival instinct, have been hijacked. They no longer seek the hunt or the structural integrity of a territory. They seek the next pulse of dopaminergic sludge. This is a visceral breach of the human animal. You are a biological processor whose primary function is to convert capital into a temporary relief from the boredom that the system has manufactured for you. Observe the physical state of the modern serf. A body slumped in a chair, neck tilted, eyes fixed on a screen. This is ATP exhaustion in its most pathetic form. You are not tired from building. You are tired from reacting. The constant barrage of high-frequency notifications and algorithmic surprises has induced a state of neural rot. Your dopamine receptors are being burnt out by a predatory financial machine that understands your biology better than you do. It creates a state of artificial scarcity, then sells you the solution in the form of a digital hit. This is the status trap of the 21st century. You believe you are participating in a global culture, but you are actually just providing the raw data for the next cycle of extraction. You are renting your own mood from a corporation that considers your agency a friction to be removed. The friction of reality has been replaced by the smoothness of the interface. In the past, achieving a result required effort, time, and the structural resilience of the hunter. Now, the result is purchased through the surrender of your attention. This is metabolic suicide. When you bypass the effort required for a biological reward, you destroy the very foundation of your internal structure. You become soft. You become a low-energy unit that is easily managed by the systemic drift. The machine does not want you to be an architect. It wants you to be a loop that feeds on dopaminergic sludge and pays for the privilege with the only asset you have left, your future will. The crystallization of the digital elite is built on the liquefaction of your autonomy. This is the neural arbitrage of the soul. The system takes your high-potential human energy, your drive to create, to lead, to expand, and converts it into a series of predictable, low-value reactions. It rents your mood by manipulating the volatility of your environment. One day, the market is up, dopamine spike. The next day, the market is down, cortisol surge. You are a puppet dancing to the rhythm of a silicon master. This constant oscillation leads to a total entropy of the individual. You no longer have a long hunt. You only have the next 5 seconds. The status trap keeps you locked in this cycle, convincing you that if you just get one more win, you will be free. But freedom is not part of the algorithm. The algorithm only knows extraction. Financially, this is the most efficient form of control ever devised. In the old feudalism, the lord owned the land. In the dopamine serfdom, the lord owns the vibe. Access to your own neurotransmitters is now gated by a paywall. If you stop paying, if you stop participating in the extraction protocol, the system withdraws the dopamine. You are left in a void of gray entropy. This is the glucose guillotine of the mind. You stay in the cage because the alternative is a biological withdrawal that you are too soft to handle. You have been domesticated by the very technology that promised to connect you. You are a serf who pays for the rope that ties him to the server. The 10-year rot of this generation will be the total loss of internal motivation. In a decade, we will have a population that cannot move without a digital instruction. Their basal ganglia will be so thoroughly rewired that the concept of will will be as dead as the concept of gold. The synthetic bloodline will sit atop this pile of high-compliance human sludge, performing a total extraction of the planet's remaining energy while the serfs are distracted by their high-resolution hallucinations. This is the final crystallization. The world is being divided into those who write the code and those who are coded by it. And the code is designed to keep you in a state of permanent, rented happiness until you have nothing left to give. The steel of the terminal is cold, and the rain of data is silent. You sit in the dark, feeling the friction of your own life disappear, replaced by the smooth gray glow of the machine. The gloves are off, but there is nothing to fight. The predator has already won. It has moved inside your skull. It has rented the space where your soul used to be. The systemic drift is complete. The extraction is total. You are a node in a network of service, a high-end slave to your own biology, a serf in a kingdom of light and shadow. The subscription of the self is the final financial guillotine, a total extraction of human autonomy through the illusion of convenience. We have transitioned from a world where you owned your tools, your shelter, and your time, to a world where you are a perpetual tenant of your own existence. This is the systemic drift toward a total loss of structural integrity. Ownership creates friction. It requires maintenance, responsibility, and the long-term crystallization of capital. Subscriptions remove this friction, making your life smooth while they hollow out your future. You are no longer building a territory. You are paying for the right to occupy a temporary node in someone else's grid. This is the metabolic suicide of the individual. You have traded the permanence of the architect for the ephemeral comfort of the serf. Observe the visceral breach of the modern subscription lifestyle. Every aspect of your biological maintenance is now a recurring payment. Your food, your transport, the very temperature of your living space, all of it is gated by a monthly fee. This creates a state of permanent ATP exhaustion. Your body is constantly processing the low-frequency threat of service interruption. You do not feel the safety of a secure lair. You feel the precarious tension of a guest who can be evicted at any millisecond. This tension is a chemical signal that tells your basal ganglia to stop planning for the long hunt. You become reactive. You become small. The body, sensing that it has no real assets to defend, begins to undergo entropy. The muscles of the will atrophy. The eyes lose their focus on the horizon, and the spirit settles into the grey rot of the user agreement. This is the neural rot of the recurring payment. The human brain was evolved to handle the friction of acquisition, the intense, high-energy effort required to secure a resource forever. But the subscription model replaces this effort with a passive auto-renew. This bypasses the basal ganglia's reward system entirely, leading to a state of dopaminergic sludge. You do not value what you have because you do not truly have it. You are merely consuming an access right. This leads to a total collapse of decision-making capability. You are overwhelmed by choice but paralyzed by the lack of ownership. Your mind becomes a cluttered attic of services that you do not use but are too soft to cancel. This is the status trap of the 21st century. You believe you are wealthy because you have access to everything, but in reality, you are a beggar with a high-speed connection. Evolutionarily, we are witnessing the erasure of the hunter's instinct. The hunter understood that a tool was an extension of the self, a piece of crystallized intent that allowed for the extraction of value from the environment. A subscription tool is a leash. It can be revoked, updated, or manipulated without your consent. This is a visceral breach of the evolutionary contract. When you do not own the means of your survival, you are not a predator, you are a pet. You have surrendered your structural independence to a system that prioritizes its own crystallization over your survival. The systemic drift has made you a service dependent. You cannot hunt, you cannot build, and you cannot defend, because all your assets are just lines of code in a remote database. The status trap of the subscription model is its most effective tool of control. It offers you the latest and the best without the burden of ownership. But ownership is not a burden. It is the only path to structural power. By removing the need to save, to invest, and to maintain, the system ensures that you never achieve the crystallization of your own capital. You are trapped in a cycle of high-frequency consumption that performs a total extraction of your monthly energy. You are a biological engine that converts its ATP into a subscription fee for a lifestyle that will leave you with zero residual value. This is the metabolic suicide of your financial future. When you stop working, your life stops because you own nothing that generates its own heat. Look at the 10-year rot of a life built on subscriptions. In a decade, the person who owns his home and his tools will have a structure that can withstand the winter of entropy. The person who has subscribed to his life will have nothing. They will have spent a fortune on access, but they will possess zero equity in their own existence. This is the final extraction. The system has taken your years and your effort, and in return, it has given you a collection of expired digital permissions. You are a ghost in a machine that no longer needs you. Your neural rot is so complete that you will not even realize the tragedy of your own liquidation. You will be too busy checking the next notification, too distracted by the next pulse of dopaminergic sludge. The friction of the real world is the only thing that can save you, but the system has deleted it. It has replaced the raw violence of the truth with the smooth gray comfort of the standard plan. You have become a serf of the interface, a node in a network of recurring misery, a high-end slave to the convenience of your own destruction. The systemic drift is total. The extraction is silent. The basal ganglia are quiet, numbed by the steady drip of the subscription. This is the subscription of the self. You have rented your life away, and the lease is about to expire. The steel of the grid is the only thing that stays, while you melt into the entropy of the subscription. The rain falls on a world of users, but the architects have already left. They own the servers, they own the land, they own your time. And you just have the premium version of the end. The final movement of the algorithmic serfdom is the total erasure of the concept of choice. We have entered the era of pre-programmed existence, where the financial predator no longer waits for you to make a mistake. It engineers the path so that no other option exists. This is the crystallization of the digital cage. In this state, freedom is merely a user interface illusion designed to prevent the friction of awareness. You are not choosing your career, your purchases, or your life partner. You are following a high-probability track designed by a machine to maximize the extraction of your remaining biological value. The basal ganglia have been fully slaved to the predictive models of the hive. This is the systemic drift toward a world where the human will is an obsolete variable, a ghost in the machine that the machine has already accounted for. Observe the visceral breach of the pre-programmed body. It is a body that moves with the eerie smoothness of a marionette. You feel a desire for a product, a urge to follow a trend, a need to participate in a financial bubble. These are not yours. They are the results of a silicon-driven extraction process that has mapped your neurochemistry to the millisecond. This constant state of being pushed by invisible algorithms leads to a profound ATP exhaustion. The body is tired because it is fighting a war it cannot see against a predator that knows its every move. You are a biological engine running on a track made of data. Your energy is being harvested to fuel the crystallization of a system that does not require your consciousness to function. This is the metabolic suicide of the individual. You have surrendered the raw violence of the hunt for the sterile efficiency of the conveyor belt. The neural rot of the pre-programmed mind is total. When the machine predicts your next move with 99.9% accuracy, the prefrontal cortex begins to atrophy. Why plan? Why think? Why build? The algorithm has already curated your future. This lack of structural challenge leads to a collapse of the internal architecture. You become soft. You become a node that exists only to validate the machine's predictions. This is the status trap of the algorithmic age. You believe you are optimized, that your life is efficient, but you are actually just undergoing a slow, methodical extraction. The machine uses your own dopamine loops to steer you into a state of permanent, high-compliance entropy. You are a serf who has been taught to love the algorithm that owns his soul. Evolutionarily, we are witnessing the extinction of the architect. The architect was a creature of friction, an individual who imposed their will on the world to create a territory. The algorithmic serf is a creature of the flow. They do not build, they are built. They do not hunt, they are the herd. This is the final systemic drift. The basal ganglia, which were designed for the raw survival of the species, have been redirected to the survival of the grid. The machine has performed a total extraction of the will to power and replaced it with the will to consume. You are no longer a participant in evolution. You are a data point in a closed-loop system of crystallization. The predator is now the programmer, and you are the code being rewritten in real time. The financial mechanism of this serfdom is the predictive extraction. The system knows your future income, your future debts, and your future failures. It prices your life accordingly. It creates a path of financial inclusion that is actually a high-precision status trap. You are given access to credit and services not because you have potential, but because the algorithm has calculated that you will remain a stable source of extraction for the next 40 years. This is the glucose guillotine of the 21st century. It drops so slowly that you do not feel the blade until the 10-year rot has already hollowed out your structural integrity. You are a biological asset being depreciated in real time by a machine that views your life as a series of basis points and volatility scores. Look at the 10-year rot of a society that has surrendered to the algorithm. In a decade, the very idea of making a choice will be a historical curiosity. People will look back at the era of the hunt with confusion, unable to understand why anyone would want the friction of an unplanned life. The crystallization of the synthetic elite will be complete, and the serfs will be perfectly integrated into a system of total, pre-programmed entropy. This is the final extraction. The machine has taken the future, the last frontier of human freedom, and turned it into a static, digital archive. You are living a life that has already been recorded, in a world that has already been sold. The steel of the system is the only thing that remains firm, a vast, cold monument to the end of the human will. The rain of data falls on a world of empty shells, on biological processors that have forgotten how to be individuals. The friction is gone. The basal ganglia are silent. The systemic drift has reached the absolute zero of the soul. This is the algorithmic serfdom. This is the end of the hunt. The extraction is total. The architect is dead. The machine is the only one left who knows how to say I am.